JavaScript had conquered the web. By 2010, it was the undisputed language of the interactive internet, running on billions of devices across the planet. It was the only language that browsers could execute natively, a fact that made it indispensable. Yet the very qualities that made JavaScript so accessible, its flexibility and its forgiving nature, were becoming a liability. The language had been designed in 10 days in 1995 to add small interactive behaviors to static web pages. It was never built to support sprawling, million-line applications that would power global commerce, social networks, and cloud infrastructure. As applications grew larger, the cracks in the foundation became harder to ignore. A variable could hold a string in one function and an array in another, and the interpreter would accept both without complaint. The code would run, but the behavior would often be unpredictable. Engineers would make a change to one part of a program, believing they understood its structure, only to discover that a distant, unrelated function had broken. Debugging these failures was time-consuming, expensive, and demoralizing. The industry had reached a contradiction. Its most critical infrastructure was built on a language that could not safely support the scale it had achieved. Inside the Microsoft campus in Redmond, Washington, a small team of engineers began working on a solution. The project was codenamed Strada, and its architects were among the most respected language designers in the world. Anders Hejlsberg, the Danish engineer who had created Turbo, Pascal, and Delphi before leading the development of Microsoft C#, understood the demands of large-scale systems better than almost anyone. Alongside him was Steve Lucco, a technical fellow who had managed the Chakra JavaScript engine for Internet Explorer. They shared a conviction that the JavaScript language could be preserved while adding a layer of control that would make it suitable for enterprise applications. Their proposal was audacious. They would create a new language that was a superset of JavaScript, meaning every valid JavaScript program would also be valid in their new system. They would add optional static typing, allowing engineers to declare what kind of data a variable should hold, and a compiler would check those declarations for consistency before the code ever ran. The compiler would then erase the type information and output plain, standard JavaScript. The browser would never see the types. It would execute the same JavaScript it had always executed, but the code would have been examined for errors in advance. This approach offered a powerful advantage. Engineers could adopt the new language incrementally. They could start with a single file, add type annotations, and let the compiler check their work. The rest of the project could remain plain JavaScript. There was no requirement to rewrite everything at once. There was no new runtime to install, or new virtual machine to support. The output was standard JavaScript that ran in any browser, any version of Internet Explorer, any version of Chrome, any version of Firefox, and any version of Node.js on the server. This backward compatibility was not a secondary consideration. It was the central design principle. If the new language required developers to abandon their existing code or change their deployment infrastructure, it would fail immediately. The political environment inside Microsoft made this project even more difficult than the technical challenges. In 2010, Microsoft was still led by Steve Ballmer, who had famously described Linux as a cancer. The company viewed open source as a threat to its intellectual property and its dominant business model. Hejlsberg and Lucco knew that their project had to be open source to succeed. The JavaScript community would never trust a proprietary language from Microsoft, regardless of its technical merits. Pitching an open source project to Ballmer's Microsoft was a delicate negotiation. The team had to demonstrate that the strategic benefits of aligning with the open source ecosystem outweighed the risks of giving away control. The project proceeded quietly, without public announcements, until the team had built enough momentum to protect it from internal opposition. The first public preview of TypeScript, version 0.8, arrived in October of 2012, hosted on Microsoft's CodePlex platform. The initial reception was cautious. Many developers assumed this was another Microsoft attempt to embrace a standard and then extend it in proprietary directions. The company had a long history of such strategies, and the JavaScript community was wary. Hejlsberg and his team continued to develop the language, releasing version 0.9 and then version 1.0 at Microsoft's Build conference in April of 2014. The tools were improving, but adoption remained limited. Microsoft's reputation was a persistent obstacle. The moment that changed everything occurred in March of 2015. Google announced that its Angular web framework would adopt TypeScript as its primary language for the upcoming Angular 2 release. This was not a simple endorsement. Google had been developing its own language for Angular, a project called @script, which was designed to add type information and annotation capabilities to JavaScript. The teams at Microsoft and Google recognized that they were trying to solve the same problem in different ways. Rather than compete, they collaborated. Google's @script was merged into the TypeScript design, and the TypeScript compiler was enhanced to support the metadata and decorators that Angular required. The decision to converge on TypeScript was a pragmatic compromise. Both companies wanted a reliable way to build large applications, and TypeScript was the best existing foundation. Google's adoption sent a powerful signal to the developer community. If Google was willing to trust a Microsoft language for its flagship framework, then the technology was worth taking seriously. The Angular 2 release in September of 2016 was a turning point. Large organizations that had been waiting to see which direction the industry would move now had their answer. Slack began migrating its desktop application, a massive JavaScript codebase with hundreds of thousands of lines. The migration took 6 months, and the TypeScript compiler caught numerous potential bugs that would have otherwise appeared in production. Engineers discovered that they could refactor with confidence, reworking large sections of the code without fearing hidden dependencies. Airbnb also adopted TypeScript, but the sheer size of its codebase made the migration difficult. The company developed an internal tool called migrate that automated much of the conversion process, adding type annotations and fixing common issues. This tool was later released as open source, demonstrating that even a successful migration required substantial investment. GitHub's Octoverse report for August of 2025 recorded that TypeScript had become the most used language on the platform by monthly contributor count. It had overtaken both Python and JavaScript, with approximately 2.6 million contributors and growth of more than 1 million contributors over the previous year. This statistic did not mean that TypeScript had become the most popular language for all programming tasks. It meant that in the open-source ecosystem, more developers were contributing to TypeScript projects than to any other language. The language had become a default for web development, the standard syntax for modern front-end frameworks, and a growing share of back-end services. The financial value of TypeScript is indirect but substantial. Microsoft does not sell the language. It is free, open-source software licensed under the Apache License 2.0. The strategic benefit for Microsoft lies in developer relationships. Engineers who use TypeScript and Visual Studio Code, Microsoft's open-source code editor, develop habits and preferences that align with Microsoft's cloud platform, Azure. This alignment does not guarantee that developers will choose Azure, but it makes Microsoft a more natural partner for their infrastructure needs. The company's cloud division has become its primary growth engine, reporting over $70 billion in total revenue for the third quarter of fiscal year 2025, with Microsoft Cloud generating $42.4 billion. TypeScript is one piece of this ecosystem, a gateway language that connects millions of developers to Microsoft's broader portfolio of tools and services. The controversy surrounding TypeScript is not about its technical merits in the abstract, but about the limitations of its approach. The type system is not sound. Developers can explicitly override the compiler's checks using the anyType, which disables type checking for a particular variable. They can also use type assertions to tell the compiler that a value has a specific type, even when the compiler cannot verify that assertion. These escape hatches are necessary for practical use, but they mean that the compiler's guarantees are conditional. The language can also be slow on very large projects, with complex conditional types and heavy reliance on third-party declaration files contributing to build times. Configuration options are extensive, and teams often struggle to find the right settings for their projects. Critics argue that TypeScript introduces complexity that can outweigh its benefits for smaller applications, where plain JavaScript remains more productive. This is not a debate about whether types are always good or always bad. It is a debate about the appropriate use of a tool that is extremely powerful for some contexts and unnecessarily heavy for others. One unusual incident illustrated how TypeScript's technical decisions can have legal consequences. In early 2026, Anthropic accidentally exposed the TypeScript source code of its Claude Code product by including a source map file in a public NPM package. Source maps are generated files that map compiled JavaScript back to the original TypeScript source, allowing developers to debug their applications using the original code. When Anthropic's package was published, the source map revealed more than 500,000 lines of TypeScript. The code was quickly copied to other repositories. Anthropic attempted to use the Digital Millennium Copyright Act to demand takedowns, but the legal status of copied source code that had been accidentally published was uncertain. The incident highlighted a recurring tension in the open-source ecosystem. Code that is not intended to be public can become public through configuration errors, and once public, it can be redistributed widely. The most important technical development in TypeScript's history occurred in July of 2026 with the official release of version 7.0. The TypeScript compiler had been rewritten in the Go programming language, replacing the original implementation that was written in TypeScript itself and compiled to JavaScript. The decision to rewrite the compiler was driven by scale. The original compiler was designed for codebases of hundreds of thousands of lines, but as TypeScript became the industry standard, projects routinely exceeded millions of lines. The compiler was slow, and slowness was becoming a barrier to adoption for the largest organizations. The Go implementation uses native execution, parallelism, and shared memory to achieve roughly tenfold performance improvements in many workloads. The architecture had reversed. TypeScript began as a language that accepted JavaScript's disorder and placed a system of checks around it. Over time, it became so widely used that its own infrastructure could no longer meet the scale it had helped create. Microsoft rebuilt that infrastructure, not by extending the original design, but by abandoning the self-hosting principle and adopting a different language, different runtime, and different concurrency model. The comparison with other languages clarifies TypeScript's distinctive strategy. JavaScript is its closest relative, and the two are essentially the same language at runtime. JavaScript offers the same execution environment without the type checker, and for small or short-lived projects, it remains the simpler choice. Dart, developed by Google, is also a statically typed language that compiles to JavaScript, but Dart was designed as a complete replacement, with its own virtual machine and a focus on performance for mobile applications. Dart's early strategy included ambitions for direct browser support, but its modern success is concentrated around Flutter and cross-platform application development. TypeScript did not attempt to replace JavaScript. It entered the existing JavaScript world without asking developers to abandon their packages, their browsers, their syntax, or their runtime. It accepted the ecosystem as it was and added a layer of verification. The gradual integration of TypeScript into existing codebases proved essential to its success. Organizations did not need to commit to a complete rewrite. They could adopt the language file by file, gaining confidence as the compiler identified issues they had not known existed. Over time, the type annotations became a form of documentation, explaining the intended structure of the program to new engineers who joined the team. The compiler also powered advanced editing features in Visual Studio Code and other editors, providing auto-completion, navigation, and safe refactoring. These features changed the development experience itself, making it easier to work with large codebases and reducing the cognitive load on engineers. The language's role in artificial intelligence has further increased its value. AI coding assistants can use type information to make more accurate predictions about the code they generate. The types serve as constraints, reducing the probability that the assistant will produce nonsensical or incorrect output. As AI becomes more integrated into software development, languages with rich type systems will likely become even more important. TypeScript is well positioned for this trend, with a type system that is expressive enough to describe complex relationships in JavaScript programs. TypeScript succeeded because it refused to destroy what already worked. It accepted JavaScript's disorder, its historical compromises, and its limitations. It placed a system of checks around that disorder, making it manageable without demanding that the world change overnight. The language grew from a quiet project inside a company that distrusted open source into the foundation of modern web development. Its final architectural reversal, the rewrite in Go, was not a rejection of its origins but a recognition of its own success. The tool that had been created to discipline large JavaScript applications had become so indispensable that its own architecture required replacement. TypeScript is the layer through which much of the industry now understands JavaScript code, a testament to the power of incremental, backward-compatible change in a world that rarely grants such patience to its tools.